Breaking news. Ukrainian special forces destroy Russian S-300V launcher in occupied Crimea, December 26, 2025. Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. I'm Alex. Join me with Aria in this latest deep dive for a sharp, no-nonsense breakdown of the latest in global defense news, military technology, and strategic developments. And today, we are going to cover a specific strike that, it really tells a much larger story.
It absolutely does. We're talking about the confirmed destruction of a specialized Russian S-300V anti-ballistic missile launcher.
And this is so much more than just one tactical victory, isn't it? It's a massive strategic hit.
It really is. And our mission today is to dive deep into the huge strategic significance of what Ukraine is doing here. This persistent, very focused campaign to dismantle Russia's highest value air defense assets.
Especially around the Crimean Peninsula, which is just so crucial.
The absolute center of gravity for their Black Sea operations.
So we want to give you the key takeaways right at the top so you can really grasp the magnitude of this loss for Russia. First off, this system, it's not the common S-400 we always hear about.
Not at all. This is a tracked, highly mobile ballistic missile defense unit.
And a single launcher, just the one vehicle, is estimated to cost Russia approximately $40 million.
$40 million, and you have to understand that's just for the launcher itself.
And what's so fascinating here is that a strike like this, it's never an isolated event, is it?
Never. It's part of a very sophisticated strategy by Ukraine to systematically, to blind Russia's air defense network.
Creating holes they can then exploit later.
Exactly. Paving the way for future deep operations and more long-range strikes.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the goal seems pretty clear. Destroying these high-end assets just fundamentally undermines Russia's control of the entire Black Sea.
It cuts right to the heart of their A2AD strategy, their anti-accessoria denial bubble. They rely on Crimea to protect their southern flank.
So every time Ukraine punches a hole in that shield, Russia's ability to project power just degrades a little bit more.
Okay, so let's unpack this system first. The S-300V. I think for a lot of people, S-300 is just a sort of generic term for Russian air defense.
They all get lumped together.
But the V version it's fundamentally different from the S-300P series, which is the one that eventually evolved into the S-400.
It's confusing because of the name. But they were built for two very different parts of the Russian military, right?
Exactly. The P in S-300P stands for PVO, or National Air Defense. That system is designed to defend fixed targets.
Cities, military bases, critical infrastructure.
Right. But the V in S-300V stands for Vojska. That means army.
So this system was designed from the ground up to protect ground forces while they're on the move.
And that completely changes the design philosophy. The PVO systems, like the S-400, are generally mounted on wheeled trucks.
Good for roads, but not so great for moving across a muddy field.
Precisely. The S-300V uses tracked vehicles. A lot of the components are actually based on the T-80 tank chassis.
So it has that same kind of cross-country mobility.
Its whole reason for being is to keep pace with armored brigades, whether they're advancing or maneuvering in the field. It's not a static guardian, it's a mobile escort.
But what makes it so lethal? I mean, even compared to the more famous S-400.
Well, it was one of the first Soviet systems explicitly designed for a true dual role. Meaning it was highly effective against aircraft and cruise missiles, but it was also built from the start to take down tactical and even intermediate-range ballistic missiles, TBMs and IRBMs.
That sounds like serious overkill for an Army air defense unit. Was it really designed to swat down something like an American AWACS plane?
It was. Historically, it was developed specifically to engage those high-value Western ISR assets.
Intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance.
Yep. The E-3 AWACS, the E-8 J-STARS, even jamming aircraft like the old EF-111A. It was built to deny access to those key enablers that a ground army would face.
And the missiles themselves really highlight that anti-ballistic capability, don't they? It's a dual system.
That's right. First, you have the 9M83 Gladiator. Think of this one as the shorter-range, fast-response missile.
Okay.
It has a range of about 75 kilometers, and it's not just good against aircraft. It was designed to have a 50 to 65% kill probability against older ballistic missiles like the Lance.
And then you have the other one, the Giant, which sounds appropriately named.
The 9M82 Giant is exactly that. It has a much larger booster stage, extending its range out to 100 kilometers.
And that's for, what, faster, higher-flying threats?
Exactly. It's meant to kill intermediate-range ballistic missiles or those standoff jamming aircraft trying to stay at extreme ranges.
You mentioned a technical detail I wanted to circle back to. These missiles use a cold launch technique. For our listeners, why is that such a big deal for the system's survival?
Oh, it's a huge factor.
Yeah.
With a cold launch, the missile is essentially popped out of its canister by gas pressure before the main rocket engine ignites in midair.
So the launch vehicle itself is protected from the blast and heat.
Precisely. It lets the launcher reposition faster, it can reload faster, and, crucially, it reduces the infrared signature of the launch.
Making it harder to spot immediately.
All critical things for a mobile army unit that's trying to stay alive on a dynamic battlefield.
So we've established this is a sophisticated, mobile, extremely high-value asset. Which brings us back to the main point. Why targeting the launcher itself causes such a massive systemic loss.
The destruction of this TILAR, that's a transporter erector launcher and WADAR, is so crippling because the S-300V isn't a standalone unit, it's a networked system.
So when you hit the TLR, you're not just getting the missiles.
You're hitting the engagement radar and the fire control all at once.
Right. The manuals list all these different specialized vehicles, the command post, acquisition radars, and engagement radar. The numbers are a bit much, but let's focus on the roles.
That's a great way to think about it. Functionally, you have the brain, which is the command post coordinating everything. Then you have the search eyes, the big acquisition radars scanning huge areas for any potential threats.
And then the targeting eyes.
Exactly, the engagement radar, which locks onto a specific incoming threat to guide the missile.
So the radars are the eyes. And without them, even the most advanced missile system is effectively blind.
That's it in a nutshell. When Ukraine takes out a teller, they're destroying a primary firing mechanism. When they hit a dedicated acquisition radar, they are blinding that entire section of airspace. It's incredibly impactful.
Which makes this single S-300V kill a perfect example of Ukraine's wider, very consistent anti-radar strategy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Especially in Crimea.
It is a cohesive strategic campaign. We saw a very similar high-value strike back in September of 2025.
At the Saki airfields, right?
The very same. Special Operations Forces hit an S-300 radar there. The goal is just systematic degradation of the network.
And the pace of these losses for Russia is just staggering. The GOR's specialized primary unit alone has been hitting these things across Crimea.
We're not just talking about S-400 radars like the 96L6E. They're also taking out crucial surveillance systems like the Nebo SVU, the Podliot K1, and Costa 2E2.
These are the systems that give Russia its eyes over the Black Sea.
And you can measure the success by looking at the Russian response. After taking such heavy losses, the occupiers actually started hiding the expensive military facilities inside these large dome structures.
Trying to protect the sensors.
It's a passive defense, but it shows that Ukraine's reconnaissance and deep strike capabilities are defeating even those countermeasures.
So if we step back, what does all this systematic attrition really mean for Russia's A2AD posture in the region?
It raises a fundamental strategic question for them. These strikes directly disrupt that anti-accessoria denial control they have centralized in Crimea. Their whole defense of the Black Sea relies on layers of these systems.
The S-300s, S-400s, Bastion coastal missiles.
Right. That layered defense is meant to send a signal to make any potential NATO or Ukrainian action highly costly.
But by taking out the eyes and teeth of that defense, Ukraine is just massively increasing Russia's risk.
They're creating functional, exploitable gaps in the shield. The cost of maintaining control is going way up for Russia.
And the sophistication of these strikes is only increasing. Which I think brings us to our third section.
Yes.
The combined tactics Ukraine is now using.
Yes. That strike on Saki airfield on November 29th is a perfect case study. It wasn't just, throwing a few long-range drones at a target.
No, the strategy was layered. First came the FPV drones, hitting the close-in air defense systems.
Things like the Tor M2 and the Pantsir S1.
Right, so they suppressed the immediate threat first.
Exactly. Those low-cost FPV drones serve a critical suppression role. They destroy or distract the short-range systems that would otherwise shoot down the more valuable long-range attack drones.
So that first wave creates a window of vulnerability.
And once that window is open, the long-range assets follow through, hitting the high-value targets.
The command and control centers, the UAV storage depots.
Correct. They even destroyed a really rare asset in that strike. The Tor M2DT Arctic modification.
The Arctic version. What was that doing in Crimea?
That's the point. The fact that Russia is forced to deploy such a specialized, high north asset down to Crimea just shows the severe strain on their overall equipment allocation. They're plugging holes with whatever they can find.
And this attrition of air defense, it has ripple effects everywhere, extending directly to Ukraine's naval campaign.
It's fascinating how it all connects. That same primary unit taking out coastal radars has also been targeting critical maritime assets.
Like what?
Specialized reconnaissance aircraft. We've seen them destroy the B-12 Chaika anti-submarine plane and the IL-38N anti-submarine patrol aircraft.
Why are those specific aircraft so important?
Because they carry expensive sonar and tracking systems. They are Russia's primary eyes for hunting Ukrainian naval drones, the USVs and UUVs.
So by removing the coastal radars in these maritime patrol planes,
Ukraine reduces Russia's ability to detect or defend against their naval drone fleet. It's a targeted campaign to clear the way for successful strikes against the Black Sea Fleet itself.
let's circle back to the S-300V we started with. It was designed to be mobile, tracked, built to survive. Yet Ukraine found it and destroyed it on the Zaporizhia front.
This is what you could call the mobility paradox in action. It's a failure of Russian doctrine.
They spent $40 million on a system designed to hide in forests and fields.
And advanced Ukrainian reconnaissance, paired with drone precision, finds it anyway. The fact that Ukraine's National Guard can track and destroy this shows how persistent surveillance is nullifying Russia's mobility advantage.
And it also points to constant operational security failures, doesn't it? We see things like soldiers sharing geolocatable footage of their own S-400 launchers.
Exactly. High-end technology can only compensate so much for a lack of operational discipline.
But this brings up the other side of the coin. If Ukraine is so good at destroying these systems, we have to remember they also rely heavily on their own S-300s for air defense.
And that presents a colossal logistical challenge for them. While we focus on Russian losses, Ukraine is consuming its own interceptors at an incredible rate.
They started the war with S-300P and a few S-3000V1 systems.
And when Russia launches these massive drone waves, like the 153 drones on the night of December 14th, Ukraine has to fire back, and that drains their finite inventory.
It's a huge problem because Russia is really the only source for new S-300 interceptors. You can't just call Moscow for a resupply.
And it's more complex than just finding old stocks. These Soviet-era missiles have shelf lives. They need refurbishment, careful handling. Their reliability drops over time.
Which is why Western financial support has been so critical. I know Norway committed around $50 million through a U.S. scheme just to pay for new S-300 interceptors.
Sourced from wherever they can be found, yes. And those sources are scarce. You're basically limited to NATO allies who still have them, like Bulgaria and Greece.
And Greece has the S-300 PMU-1, which can fire the longer-range 48N6 interceptors. That would be a huge prize for Ukraine.
It would. But the real long-term strategy, the only sustainable path for Ukraine, has to be domestic innovation.
Absolutely. You can't rely on dwindling external stocks forever.
And we are seeing Ukrainian companies step up. The Firepoint company, for example, is developing its own S-300 and S-400 compatible missiles.
If they can pull that off, it would be a complete game changer.
It would mean independent, high-volume access to interceptors. It's how you augment the Western systems like Patriot and build true long-term resilience.
Okay, so let's tie this all together.
To synthesize what we've discussed, the destruction of a high-value asset like this S-300V launcher, it's much more than just a statistic.
It's a measured step in a larger campaign.
A consistent, comprehensive strategic campaign by Ukraine to systematically degrade Russia's A2AD capabilities. The ongoing attrition of these systems, particularly in Crimea, translates directly into greater operational freedom for Ukraine's own deep strike and naval operations.
It's making the occupied region more and more vulnerable every day.
The dynamic here is just astonishing when you think about it. The entire military-economic equation is being broken.
A nation spends tens of millions of dollars on a highly mobile air defense system. It's designed to shoot down fighter jets and ballistic missiles.
And yet that same multi-million-dollar system is being systematically hunted down and eliminated by relatively low-cost, domestically produced drones.
Guided with startling precision. When you can do that, when you can spend thousands to destroy millions, that changes everything. It changes procurement, it changes doctrine, and it changes global deterrence overnight. That's the strategic calculus you really have to mull over. You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex and Aria, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry. Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. We'll catch you next time.